All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Monday afternoon. They say Monday is typically the busiest day of the work week, and we got a lot of work to do, man, because the NBA offseason is just about to get into full gear. We got NBA draft this week, Wednesday and Thursday, and then free agency's hitting. Well, the next part of free agency, rather, this Sunday, man. So a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. You have a lot going on the Knicks hot stove, and joining me today, we got some homework to do. We got some research to do. My guy, Jonathan Macri, the head of the Knicks Film School, is in the building, man. So lock in, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. KnicksFanTV, Knicks Film School on the ones and twos. Let's get into it, man. Let's go. Let's go. All right, my dude. How we doing, man? How we feeling, bro?
Just don't ask me to teach summer school. I need a break. No, I'm good. I'm excited. It's great. It's great to be here. It's always good to talk to you. One of these years, I feel like we're gonna luck out and we're gonna get a stress-free off season. Still waiting. It's not this year, obviously. Which look, it's a good place for the Knicks to be in. Like we're gonna get a lot of questions, and we're gonna bounce around some different topics. Obviously, this is I don't know if you say it's a pivotal offseason for the Knicks. I think you could make the argument that it is, but they're operating from a position of strength, and that's where you want to be, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that was the question I was going to have for you is how do you feel about this all season, just overall temperature-wise as compared to years past?
I mean, look, it's not that long ago. I know you remember where we couldn't get a meeting with Fred VanVleet, and that's not under Phil Jackson or whoever, or Isaiah Thomas. That was under Leon Rose, and so to be, it wasn't that long ago I'd spend, 70, however many $1 million to get Evan Fournier to look in our direction and ultimately sign here. Mm-hmm. Times have changed. Obviously, regardless of what you want to do with like the whole Paul George situation, how you feel about that, the fact that his name is coming up, I think is an indication, like as people have been speculating for a while now, big time players are going to want to come play here. Alongside Jalen Brunson. And it's just a matter of now with the cap concerns. I know you had Bobby Marks on. You had a great conversation with him. Like it's going to take a real deft touch to be able to thread the needle here where you're balancing genuine roster questions, and we'll get into all that, but also the cap ramifications that come with those roster moves. So it's like there's two things going on at once here. It's a lot. And then you have to, of course, topic number one, for me at least, got to handle your own business first. And that means OG Anunoby and Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yeah, no question. I'm with you, man. This is the year where I feel like between Rose, West, Aller, this is really where they're going to get their check here, because how they navigate this, not just in terms of addressing needs for now, but with an eye towards the future. Yeah. It's going to be incredible and very interesting to see. I thought they've done a great job so far. They've been patient. They've been diligent for the most part. No regime bats 1,000, but overall they've done a great job. And now we have to see which direction they're going to go in, because, when you look at Boston, how do you see it? Like, do you look at this offseason as, we really need to swing for a home run or get a home run here? Or do you think a single double gets us closer to the C's?
You know what the interesting thing about Boston is, and like I've sung their praises a lot. I mean, I was very high on them before the season started, and I've been pretty consistent that like they should have won it all if they didn't underperform, and they didn't underperform. They performed admirably, even though you could say that maybe their top two guys. You look at the numbers for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum just in the finals, like their numbers weren't great, but they did enough when you consider everybody else. Like they deserve to be mentioned, alongside maybe the best 5, 6, 7 teams of since the Jordan Bulls, over, what is that, 26, 27 years. But they're not the KD Steph Warriors. Right. They're not the level of super team where you're like, well, it doesn't really matter what we do, and like credit to the Rockets of those days, they at least tried, came up short. they're not that level of team. And the most interesting thing to me about how they built their team is I just talked about how Brown and Tatum, like they didn't need to be these all-world players because they were just so sound and so devoid of weaknesses.
Yeah.
From not only at 1 and 2, but spots 3, 4, 5, 6, where they had all the answers on defense. They have all the answers on offense. So how do you beat a team like that? Is it going out and trying to get better at the top in terms of like trading for like, your nominal star player, or is it to minimize your weaknesses at, again, spots 3, 4, 5, 6, ideally like 7, 8, like how many different guys can you throw at a team like that over the course of a 48-minute game? It presents really interesting team building questions, but I do think, just to your point, I do think you have to have the Celtics in your sights. You can't just be like, well, whoever we face, we face. Like, no, like that team's going to be there. Barring a bunch of injuries or something. Like they are so good and they're so sound. But it's, there's also other teams like, Milwaukee's going to be back. I'm sure like nobody wants to hear it, but Philly's probably going to do something. Hopefully it doesn't impact us, but that they're going to be good. So, it's going to be a better East next year than it was this year for sure.
So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CP The Fanchise, Jonathan Macri in the building. Busy off season ahead. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. We are going to take your calls. This is going to be an action-packed show. 657-383-1509, or hit us up on the KFTV Discord. Okay, Knicks, Philly, Clippers, wing market. Let's start with Paul George. Mark Stein came out with his newsletter over the weekend. That feels, and in his newsletter, he stated that the Knicks could be an option here for Paul George, given that he's at a contract impasse with the Clippers. Seems like he wants that 4-year deal at $221. The Clippers seem to be balking at the extra year. Maybe they're around the 3-year. I believe it was like 150, between 150 and 160.
The Kawhi deal. They want to give him the Kawhi deal.
The Kawhi deal. Now, Steinlein saying the Knicks could be interested if he chooses to opt in, which is his date is June 29th. What did you think about when you heard that news as it relates to the Knicks?
So I'll just add to it. I'm just looking and shout out to New York Basketball, great Twitter account. That they just retweeted a Windhorse clip from this morning on Get Up Windhorse saying that the Paul George situation could come to a head in the next day or two, according to him, in terms of an opt-in and trade, because I don't know how much you've been getting into the cap part of the George thing, but like if he he could become a free agent and walk into, Philly's cap space or Orlando's cap space. But if he wants to come to the Knicks without boring everybody to sleep with the cap stuff, it would need to be an opt-in and then get traded. So he on his roughly $9 million number for next year. Look, I love Paul George as a player. I think he is, again, if we're bringing it back to Boston, what do you want to have if you want to try to beat Boston? You want to have a guy who is not going to present any weak spots on either end of the floor, meaning could defend a multitude of positions when he's on defense, and then on the other end can create his own shot, yes, which Paul George could obviously do, but he can play easily a second fiddle. I mean, he's one of the best spot-up shooters in the league, and he's a willing shooter as well. The guy has only increased his three-point percentage in terms of volume over the years. I love the idea of lining up Paul George and OG Anunoby. I like the idea of lining up Paul George and Julius Randle. I think there are benefits to both. Unfortunately, the way the cap works, you're not getting all three of those guys. There's no way that it's going to work. So if you're the Knicks and you're looking at a George situation, you're saying, all right, do we go with what we have here already, which we kind of know what that is. We saw it in January. Or do we upset the apple cart? And if you upset the apple cart to bring in George, obviously there's the age part, making a ton of money. You're going to have to give him 3 years on top of next year. The easiest way to go would seem to be to include Randall in some type of deal. Again, that's just the way the math works under the cap. I'm not going to bore everybody with why. Is that a trade-off you want to make? A lot of people would say no. Some people would say yes.
I'm not doing it.
You're not doing it. Okay.
Look, for all the reasons you just said, I love Paul George. If you want to pick one of the most perfect profiles to go with this team right now, it's him.
That's it.
I liked him when they were after him last year when those rumors started to percolate, and I like the type of player now. But it's just like you said. I put it out there on Sunday on Twitter. Like, am I trying to see them trade a 29-year-old Randall for PG right now? Is it that drastic of a change? Are they really ready to go that route? Then not even to trade the asset, but then you got to sign him. You got to pay him. A guy northwards of 35. I just don't like it, man. I just don't like it. Maybe it's the trauma, the PTSD of being a Knicks fan and you know, of yesteryear when they gave those guys those type of deals and it never worked out. He had a great year last year. I just don't trust him, man. I don't trust him.
And when it's funny you say you don't trust him because you're talking about the health.
Yeah.
You could very easily be talking about the playoff performance where you want to talk about night and day. I mean, if you went and watched, I forget what game was it against Dallas this year, where he went out and scored like 25 points in the first half. He looked like the greatest player on the face of the earth. And then you turn on the TV a few days later, and it's like, did Paul George play in this game? Like, you know, 2 for 10 or whatever the heck he went in, like either game 5 or game 6 against the Mavs. I don't think either game was particularly good. But again, the thing there is that's him as the first option. I think we know enough to know, like, you don't want Paul George as your first option, even though he did an admirable job when Kawhi went out a few years ago and he helped take them to the conference finals. But as a second guy, specifically with Brunson as the head of the snake, for me, it really does come down to how do you think this guy is going to age? What kind of shape does he keep himself in? Is he going to be committed to, you know, an off-season training regimen? Like, you know, basically you're asking him to be LeBron. Not LeBron in terms of a player type, but like LeBron in terms of being able to keep himself
longevity.
Healthy. Exactly, longevity. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. If you have doubts about that, then you probably can't make the move because you are taking what right now is... It's not a wide open runway because, again, the cap stuff is coming. It's here. But when you make your move for a guy that's this age, it's like, all right, we think we're going to be able to do this in the next 2 to 3 years. Which, look, it's not that they can't, but are you cutting yourself off at that point as opposed to if you stick with Randall? But then is it like, oh, we're trying to have our cake and eat it too, and then we end up with nothing. I think it's a really interesting discussion. I'll just say that. Yeah. And I could see both sides having a point.
So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. We got a $10 super chat from David Crockett. Davey Crockett in the chat, man, says, if anyone is still mad about national media types still doing the LOL Knicks thing, we got CP Macri, the Strickland, and others doing the holy work for us. Thanks for everything y'all are doing. All love and respect, man. Yeah, salute to David Crockett. Definitely appreciate the support. And if you guys are in the chat, man, on your lunchtime grind, go ahead and leave a hashtag grind in the chat, and we will shout you guys out. Let's play the Windhorse clip. I do have it pulled up here.
Sure.
And then I want to look at this Paul George thing from another angle as well. This is Brian Windhorse, courtesy of Get Up this morning, and so to NBA New York for pulling this up. Okay, here we go.
Is Paul George the guy, though? Is this the most important domino in free agency?
Well, let's remember that Paul George has 3 options. 1 is to re-sign with the Clippers. 2 is to enter free agency and go somewhere else like Philly or Orlando. 3, he can opt into his contract and get traded by this weekend. That is something that is going to come to a head in the next day or two if he wants to go with that option, because obviously you'd have to negotiate a trade, and then the team wouldn't necessarily need salary cap space. So the Paul George sweepstakes is going to come to a head, at least that aspect of it, faster than those other players who are going to be free agents like Klay Thompson or DeMar DeRozan. So Paul George has a different menu of options, and we're going to see some action in that probably coming up, very quickly after the draft.
Well, whatever it is, we know that Paul George is a championship caliber player who hasn't shown.
All right, so we'll pause that. So that was Get Up. Now,
do we know that Paul George was a championship caliber player?
Yeah, right.
I like Paul George a lot. I'm a bigger fan of the potential move than you, but that was interesting to hear.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Now, what about the reports that? Yeah, the Shams report last week that Philly's cooled off on him. I find that hard to believe. What do you think about that? They need him. They need a guy like that. They have the cap space for him.
I think Philly is trying very hard to make it seem like they have the situation under control. This is not Philly film school, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on them, but like there's no more desperate team in the league this summer. They have to do something with that money. And that's part of the reason why I am going to continue. Like a lot of people are like, don't worry about OG Anunoby. He's going to come back. Leon's not going to let him get away. I buy all of that. And I think ultimately OG is going to sign on the dotted line. Our mutual friend, Ian Begley, when Ian comes on with me last week and he says, until I see OG fire CA as his agency, I'm not going to be worried. I'm going to take that to the bank. All that being said, if you're Philly and you're like, okay, well, Paul George, we don't think he wants to come here, so he's not an option for us. And then you start looking at it, it's like, all right, well, Jimmy Butler, we can't get him for what we have to offer. Like Pat Riley's not going to do that, and he's not going to let Jimmy force his way here. And like we're not getting LeBron, and Brandon Ingram doesn't really do anything for us. Like pretty soon you get close to, okay, well, why don't we just screw over the Knicks, offer OG the max, and worst comes to worst, you leave them in a tougher salary cap situation because they either let him walk for nothing or we got him. So that's why I'm I am worried about Philly. I don't know, if you're Paul George, do you want to go play in that environment? I'm not sure I do.
Yeah, ask Tobias Harris, right? So, and then once Embiid goes down, because he's going to go down at some point with some sprained knee ligament, some type of thing. Not wishing it on him, but it's his history. Then hey, now it's a lot more on you to deliver in Philly.
Yeah, I don't. The thing, like, yes, there's a lot of attention in LA, but like, he gets to play for the Clippers.
Not with the Clippers, man.
Yeah, it's not the Lakers,
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, maybe George doesn't care about that stuff. Maybe he does. And then, and then on top of that, I'm sure you guys have talked about this, the comments he made on his podcast recently about implying very strongly that maybe Daryl Morey is not a guy that he wants to get into business with because of the lack of ability to trust him. Now, money goes a long way, so maybe that doesn't matter, but it's a very interesting situation. And really, for as much as the George domino is the first domino on the player side, Philly, what they do is going to dictate a lot of other stuff. So, they bear watching for sure.
Yeah. And you mentioned OG, his player option date is today, correct? So yes. We will find out, which we could expect that he is going to opt out, test the waters, and he's sitting pretty right now. Just as you said, with the Philly situation, that could push his number up with the Knicks, where Scotto's reporting 35. A lot of people you talk to think it's mid-30s. Some people I've talked to say it could be 40. I'm expecting that between 35 to 40 range.
I just, I'm going to go back to Fred Katz, who you have on as well as me, said to me months ago, it was like early in the season or middle of the season, middle of the season after they got OG Anunoby, where he's like, OG's reps are going to look at the Jeremy Grant contract where he got 32 a year and be like, dude's getting 32 a year. Like, I never in a million years did I think that he was going to get a dime less than 35, because there's not a team out there who would rather have Jeremy Grant. No offense to Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's a really great player. If you're looking to win a championship, you'd rather have OG Anunoby on your team than Jeremy Grant. So, like, I always thought it would start at 35. Yeah. And then, all you need is one a-hole, as they say. So, like, that a-hole is here. It's Philly. Like, they have the ability to say nothing. You want to hear my hot take? If you're the Pistons, and maybe they're going to look to tank next year, I don't know. They don't seem like they know what they're doing. But if you're the Pistons, why wouldn't you throw a max at OG Anunoby for the Detroit? What better thing do you have to spend your money on this summer?
It's fair.
Fair. They have $60 million. So I'm looking at it like, man, if you could get OG for under 40 annually, good job. That's where I'm at this point.
Josh B sends a $5 super chat. Salute to Josh B. Says, does the Scotty Barnes extension hurt us? Does that mean we're going to max OG now? Let's see what was the Barnes number? Did you see that?
It is a max with it's the rookie max, which is 25% of the cap. So I don't know what the number is, but it has in it the language which all of these rookie maxes now have, which is that if he makes All NBA next year, or I think it's wins Defensive Player of the Year. I think is the other one. It gets bumped up to a supermax, so potential to be, 260 or whatever the heck it is. I don't know. Again, if like you tell me if you're who's his mate agent? I know it's Fred talked about this on his pod recently. It's not Sam Rose. It's is it Mintz?
Mintz. George? Paul George?
No, OG's agent.
No, OG is it's not Rose. It's,
or is it Brown?
It's Brown. I don't think it's Mintz.
Okay.
It might be Brown.
So okay. So if you're Austin Brown and you're going in to talk to your good buddy, your former boss, Leon Rose, and you're like, man, OG, my client, he thinks he's better than Scotty Barnes. He thinks he's more valuable to a team trying to win a championship right now than Scotty Barnes. He could shoot like Scotty Barnes can't shoot. He could defend like Scotty Barnes can't defend. He looked pretty good out there creating for himself in that last game before he got hurt when he was the Knicks' best offensive player. They wouldn't have been in game 2 if it wasn't for OG Anunoby. Like that dude's getting $250 million, and you're out here offering me, I don't know what he's offering right now, but like, again, I don't think it helps, even though this was probably always expected for Barnes to get the max.
You got to pay him, man. It is what it is. Whatever they ask for, here you go, buddy.
Unless there is a very clearly defined and certain backup plan, which I want to just say, if you let OG walk for nothing, or it's a sign and trade, and then you get, maybe some picks or something for, let's say, I don't know. I can envision scenarios where maybe it would be a sign and trade, although it's not likely. You then do one thing by doing that. You take away certainly your second apron concerns, but realistically, you take away your first apron concerns. The reason why that matters, potentially, just throwing it out there, is it allows you to make some different types of trades, including if there was a Paul George trade in which something you could be worked out with the Clippers where you kept Randall, but then you'd have to do Bogi and Mitch, and realistically it would be Deuce, like where you could take back more money than you send out. You can't do that once you're over the first apron. You can't send out more salary in a trade and than you take back. All of a sudden, if the first apron isn't a concern, you could do that. You could hard cap yourself because you're not up against the first apron. So, like, again, I'm trying to think of all the scenarios. Are the Knicks like is somewhere in the corner of their whiteboard this thing where it's like, well, we really don't want to pay OG this, but so like if he leaves, then we could potentially do this. I don't know. I agree with you. I think OG needs to be kept at all costs. I'd pay him essentially whatever it took to get him, but there's always things happening that we don't maybe think of.
Always scenarios, no question about it. Let's talk about the center rotation. All signs point to, as of right now, nothing guaranteed, but all signs are pointing to Hart and the Knicks coming to a deal potentially for that full 4-year, $72 million. What do you think about Hart, the market, and the latest news right now?
Oh, sign me up for that. It would be, if you take out, I did this a few weeks ago, if you take out the guys like the centers who would obviously be on a max if they were eligible. So Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, and he might get max this summer, but like Alperen Sengun. If you add in those guys, putting Hartenstein on a contract that would pay him an average of $18 million a year would make him roughly, I think again, including those 3 rookies or guys on rookie contracts, make him like the 17th highest paid center in the league. I think Isaiah Hartenstein is a top 15 center. Might be on the lower end of the top 15, but I think he's a top 15 center. So, like, I think it's a fair deal. I think he's instrumental to what they do on both ends of the floor. And it doesn't sound like they're going to have any hesitancy to offer him the full 4 for 72. And I think he's going to take it. I think that, like, people talk about the Thunder, that Caruso trade, they're going to have to pay Caruso in a year now.
Yeah.
So lessens the possibility maybe that they want to go big for 2 years on someone like Hartenstein. So I feel pretty good that he's going to be back.
Likewise, and I also wonder, the 4 years providing that stability from the Knicks, team you have the chemistry with. He's established a home here. He is going to be the starting five, and we'll talk about Mitch in a little bit. I just feel like, not knowing him personally, obviously, or what his motivations are, it just seems like that's something that he would take rather than a couple $1 million difference on a shorter term balloon contract where you got to kind of start over. I think he'd rather go for that security, stick with the Knicks.
I was worried about something stupid, like 2 for like 55 or something like that. But it doesn't. Again, as of now, it doesn't sound like that's coming. Whether it be from Oklahoma City or, I mean, they're really the team that you would worry about for something like that.
Shout out to my guy Tom from Huntington, man. $10 super chat to salute to the chat. And the best show for the fans by the fans, CP and Macri, is the ultimate winning combination. Earl and Clyde like. No thanks to PG. No thanks to Paul George. He says, what championship has he won? Okay, so Tom from Huntington is all the way out on PG. And speaking of Tom from Huntington, shout out to one of our sponsors of today's show, and that is at Manscaped, fellas. Make sure that you guys go to manscaped.com. Use our code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. Okay, so that's the news right now on iHeart. And now the trade rumblings are kind of picking up around Mitch. Our guy, the Block Nest Monster. First, it was reported by Evan Sidery of Forbes magazine who heard that Mitch could be on the block. Ian Begley shared the same. And now Ian says that the Wizards were among the teams that the Knicks have spoken to on a potential deal, man. Does Mitch automatically, to you, become a casualty by bringing iHeart and OG back?
No, I don't think so. And I know you had... again, Bobby was on our show a few months back, and I saw him going back and forth with John Schmeelk a little bit today on Twitter about whether the Knicks are going to be a second apron team. And that's really what we're getting at here, right? Do you move Mitch for financial reasons? And I don't want to bore people to sleep, but like if you do away with the Precious Achiuwa cap hold or the qualifying offer, if you don't tender him the qualifying offer and you wipe that $6 million off the books, like you're not really up against the second apron this year. And my 2 cents, if you're the Knicks and you're like, if it just came down to like, would we rather have Mitchell Robinson or would we rather have Precious Achiuwa? I would think that they are going to want to have Mitchell Robinson, even at his number versus I don't know what Achiuwa would get if on an eventual contract, 6, 7, 8 million. So I don't think that's a reason to move him. I do think at this point, like, and I talked about it on my show today. It's not that you can't pay a backup center $14 million, and it's not that he's not good enough to warrant that expenditure, even if he's only playing 18, 20, 22 minutes a night. It's when you combine the injuries in too, and it pains me to say this because I love Mitch. I know you love Mitch. He's the longest tenured Knick, which means something to me. I know it means something to you too. Me and you were back doing this stuff when this team was
facts.
They were booty, and we had one thing to look forward to every night.
Right.
And it was Mitch around. Like, what did Mitch do tonight?
That was it, man. Whose three-pointer did Mitch block? That was it, man. That was the key attraction on most seasons, most games.
And he's one of one, man. There's nobody like Mitchell Robinson from a personality standpoint, from a player standpoint. Like, like combine the defense, pick and roll defense, rim protection, offensive rebounding, all that. But I don't know, man. If you're the Knicks and you're accounting for all of this stuff, is there a more cost efficient way to go at that spot? Now that you're presumably with Hartenstein back, you have a guy who, in a perfect world, Isaiah Hartenstein is on the floor for 30 minutes a night.
Right.
It's tough. What are you getting for him? I mean, I've seen some fake Wizards trades that I just like don't make a lot of sense. But I don't know. Denny Avdia, that's you could make that trade pretty much 1-for-1. And he's a nice player. More versatile. Again, we keep going back to how are you going to beat Boston? Yeah. Are you going to beat Boston by having multiple centers that only could kind of play in one scheme, especially if they're playing against a stretch five like Kristaps Porzingis? Or are you trying to add a little bit more versatility. Go get another big wing who, I know Abdi is not the best shooter in the world, but like that dude could defend, that dude could rebound, like he could pass, he could play make, he could do a lot of things. Again, I'm making this up. I don't know if they're interested in that, but like, I don't know. It's an interesting question.
I'm with you in that. It's just my question is, given that Hartenstein is going to be that 5, he's more durable, he's more versatile with the offense, defensively, and his rebounding has improved mightily since his first year with the team. He's been great for the team, and so now it's with that $15 million in Mitch. Given that he's an injury liability, are they better served filling in a hole somewhere else at the expense of Mitch? Now, it might be a name where you say 1 for 1. Well, Mitch is a better player, but does this one player help fill a potential need for the Knicks as they continue to look to shape this roster and move forward?
And it's about there's always offshoots of these moves when you're considering things. So the offshoot of a potential Mitch trade where you're trading him for a non-center, which I think is what I would, again, I'm just guessing, is what they'd be doing. Well, can you replace him with someone that is not maybe as good as Mitch, but is 80, 85, 90% of Mitch? A name that's been, again, Ian floated out there a few days ago, Goga Batadze. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of fans hear the name Goga Batadze. Like, who? What? Like, what?
Yeah, right.
Why should I get excited? Well, he was good enough to start for the Magic for however, whatever it was, half the season last year. Yeah. He's a serviceable center who could go out and do the job on both ends for 15 minutes a night. And if you could get that guy for the taxpayer mid-level exception, which means you're not hard capping yourself at the first apron, which I think they could, I would guess that he's not going to get more than $5.2 million. Is that a more feasible option, especially when, I'm going to keep bringing it back to the same thing, you are looking ultimately at trying to beat a team like Boston, where you may not want to have a traditional 5 on the floor for all 48 minutes of the game. I don't think it's nuts. That's all I'll say.
Fair point, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. CP Macri on the 1s and 2s. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook as well. We are in here on this Monday, man, dissecting what will be an important Knicks offseason, no question about it. Let's go to the Discord. Let me hear from Stilicho, man. Stilicho, go ahead and unmute your mic.
1 2 1 2.
Yes, sir. In. Loud and clear. Let's go, man.
CP, salute, John. Hope y'all are having a fantastic Monday start to the week.
Likewise, man.
My one thing about Paul George, I don't like it on its face, but there is one scenario where I think that Paul George, I'd start to entertain that idea. And that's when OG's contract negotiations start to approach a max contract. The higher that number goes after I'm not saying he will. If we can keep him below, 42, 40, something like that, God bless. I'll take that in a heartbeat. But once he starts getting 45, 48, something like that, if Philly decides they're just going to throw money at him until he says yes, if we decide to match that, the higher that number goes, the more that I sit here and I say, can we pull off a trade for Paul George with OG and attach, however many assets we need to? Because OG, let's keep it a buck. He was absolutely a pivotal player for us, but he's not a max contract all-star caliber player. That he isn't. He's not going to go out and get you 20 a game. He shoots very well, but Paul George shoots better. He also has more assists and more rebounds. Every stat barring blocks is better for Paul George. So if OG starts getting to a max contract number, we need to start entertaining the idea of, can we get better value for that elsewhere? And I think Paul George can be an option.
All right. Appreciate the call, man. Rate that call in the chat, man. 1 being trash, 5 being facts. What do you guys think about Stilicho's call, man? Go ahead, man.
Can I pee in the soup for a second?
Yeah.
Sorry. There's only one problem with that. I think he was angling towards getting OG potentially to agree to a sign and trade to LA, right?
Sign and trade, yeah.
The problem is, unless LA wants to vanquish James Harden's cap hold, which is some absurd number, $50 million, I think, and basically say goodbye to James Harden because he's going to sign. I don't know what he's going to sign for. It's going to be, but whatever the number is, they're so close up against the first apron as it is. Whatever he signs for is going to put them over the first apron. You are not allowed to acquire a player via sign and trade if you are a first apron team. So that would, and if you're going to say, all right, well then the Knicks, I mean that there's just no way around it. Like the Clippers would essentially need to offload money elsewhere on their roster to accommodate that move, which maybe they could do. But you're starting to get into lots of complications that would make that difficult to envision. On top of the fact that, like, again, maybe OG Anunoby doesn't want to go play in LA. Like that, you would have to convince him of that. And if you're the Clippers and you don't want to max Paul George, do you want to max OG Anunoby?
Right. That's why I can't really see it.
Yeah, if it's an injury, right? Because if you're not maxing Paul George near the Clippers, the only reason you're doing it is because you're worried you're going to get hurt.
Right.
Well, so you're going to trade him out for a guy who also gets hurt all the time. I don't know about that.
Can't see it. 657-383-1509. Call us up with your questions and comments on the Knicks offseason, or you can hit us up on the KFTV Discord. What do you want to do with the Bogdanovich contract? Guarantee date is the 29th. $19 million. What do you want to see them do with it?
I think they should pick it up. Because I just think long and the short of it is, if you don't pick it up, the reason you're not picking it up is because you are there's someone that you see out there that you could get on the non-taxpayer mid-level, which is $12.8 million, I think, to essentially replace Bogi, like give you better value for whatever you could get for Bogi. And like, I know we're going to do, I think, a segment in a little bit in which we can talk about potential candidates for that. And like, there's some interesting names out there. I would just rather have that salary slot. I know it comes with apron concerns and we don't have to sit here and get fully into it, but like, they valued that so much at the deadline. They were dead set on moving Fournier, not for an expiring contract. Otherwise, who knows? Maybe they could have had Tyus Jones. But they wanted a guy with that second year option. I think they did that for a reason. I'd be shocked if this is where me and my colleague Jeremy Cohen, we disagree on this vehemently. He thinks they're going to decline it. I'm consistent that I think they're going to pick it up. I think they should pick it up.
I'm with you. I think they would. I think that was the importance of holding on to that Fournier deal until you could get someone where Fred had reported that for most of the season, that they still wanted to keep that flexibility with the next person that they would swap Fournier for. And so now they get Bogdanovich. I don't know. I just can't see them declining that option and letting him go there. But I do think they will try to use it to upgrade at that spot. Look, he gave you good shooting. Thought he came on strong near the end of the season. Philly series, he started to show some promise, some pop. But I think they've got to move away from the injury business. The guys who have the history, right? You can't predict everybody's injury. But guys like OG, guys like Bogdanovich, they have that history. I think they need to move away from that. Get younger. Try to get some more wing depth. Obviously, shooting will be good. I'm looking at Atlanta, man. What are the Hawks going to do? They got the number 1 pick. Is Dejounte Murray going to go to the Lakers? Is he still an option? They were interested last year. The Lakers were interested as well. And I like DeAndre Hunter, man. I was
wondering if that's where you were going, Hunter.
I like him as a sleeper pickup.
Man, it's a lot of money for, I think, what he would be on the Knicks. Because I don't think there's a world where he starts in New York, right?
No.
Like he's, and you're talking, what is he, like 23 million this year, and then I think it goes up to like 24, 25, whatever it is. He's solid, right? He's like solid across the board. He's like pretty good defender. He's like pretty good 3-point shooter. is he making a positive difference for you in a playoff series? I don't know. Maybe the answer is yes, and maybe we just haven't seen it because he hasn't been there because the Hawks have been kind of not a great spot. I've thought about him this summer. I have. I'm not gonna lie.
I like to see what Tibbs can do with him. 6'8", gives you some versatility at the 3 or the 4. Showed some promise early, especially in that series against the Hawks. I mean, he was checking Julius. He was guarding RJ. He was doing a good job there. He was all over the court. He's probably one of their best players in that series. And like you said, he hasn't really shown you much to say like, all right, this guy's going to take the next step. But I'd like to see him with Tibbs in this team, man. I think he could fill a nice role.
Remember, the Hawks went out of their way to get him because they package because he was the Lakers. It was the Lakers pick that they got, or no, it was the Pelicans pick because it was the AD trade. But then the Hawks went out of their way to go get him. He was the 4th pick in the draft.
Fourth pick in the draft, man.
He
came in with a lot of promise.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was I know it was a drop off after RJ in that draft, but like that, I don't know. Maybe there's still some meat on the bone there. I don't think it's nuts.
Let's get to your sleeper off-season acquisition. Your sleeper off-season acquisition is?
My sleeper off-season acquisition is the guy that I wrote to you about an hour ago, who I'm going and looking up right now. Okay. So this is just like a potential off-season trade acquisition, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Colin Sexton.
Okay.
So
let's talk about
Colin Sexton. Yeah. So Colin Sexton's a guy that I haven't really heard come up in connection with the Knicks. Maybe his name floated around the deadline last year. But the thinking is like, well, you do business with Utah, you're going to pay out the nose. It's going to get ugly. I like Sexton from this perspective. He's a guy who has really come around as a shooter over the course of his career. I think he's a solid, catch and shoot guy. Like teams have to guard him behind the arc, which is important. And he's small, and yes, he probably, gets into bad, situations a little too big for his britches, like we saw against Jalen Brunson last year. But he's feisty. He defends. I think you could play him next to Brunson. I think you could play him next to Deuce, even though he's whatever he is, 6'2", 6'3", and he is a guy that can, I hate to use the overused term, but he's kind of a bucket. Like he's a guy that can go get you points. And how does he do it? He does it in the way that the Knicks love. He drives the ball.
Yeah.
That's all that guy does, is he drives consistently, relentlessly. He's tenacious around the rim in more ways than one. The reason I'm not 100% on it, and I'm more like 85% on it, is you're making your team smaller. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, so we got Brunson, Deuce, Sexton, DiVincenzo, and Hart. That's 5 of your 8 or 9 rotation players, whatever it is, and they're all 6'4" or shorter. So I don't love it from that perspective, but this just for me goes to show how I don't think there is an ideal guy out there that's below a certain level of player.
Might not be perfect, but not a bad idea, man. Like in the past, these guys, whether it was Sexton and Dejounte Murray, I didn't necessarily like for the Knicks, but now that I've seen how far they've come in this past run and just looking at, how they need to just tinker with the roster a little bit, I do like him coming off the bench, man. That tandem with him and Deuce would be good. We need more shooting efficiency. We've done a good job of improving there with DiVincenzo, and Deuce's steps have been incredible. OG's been incredible there. So adding Sexton would add to that mix. And like you said, I feel like we need more guys who can attack the rim and finish at the rim. And he was one of the best in the league, and his draw rates are good. His foul and draw rates are pretty good, man. So he is a gamer, man.
What does Tibbs love? Rebounding guards.
Exactly. He is a gamer, so I think he would kind of fit in here. The question is, it's just what does Utah want to do? No one ever knows what Danny Ainge is thinking. They're kind of stuck in this no man's land. They have some young talent, but they're in the West, man. It's tough, and without drafting, it's hard for them to or making a big trade. It's hard for them to acquire players.
You would I'm not a big draft guy, but you hear already that the 25 draft is supposed to be pretty good. It's there's not Wemby at the top, but it's tank worthy, I guess would be the way to say it. And there's there's going to be so many teams trying to win. Like, if they keep Sexton, presumably they're going to want to keep Markkanen too. Like, are they too good to tank in that scenario? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good teams out west. I'm curious to see what the Jazz. I think the Jazz are like, this was my sleeper target. The Jazz are like my sleeper team for the next week or so. Like, where are they going? Because I think they could go in any number of directions, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Your mid-level pick, if they have the full, which is about 12.9, your full mid-level exception pick, if the Knicks have that available to them.
I think it's going to cost close to the full mid-level to get this guy, and that's Naji Marshall from New Orleans. He is seemingly a victim of circumstance, a team that has all of the big wings, putting aside Brandon Ingram, Murphy the third, and obviously Herb Jones. Like, these guys are awesome, and Naji Marshall has kind of gotten cut out, has never really maybe gotten the consistent playing time. Now, fair question, would he get that consistent playing time here? I don't know, maybe not. But if you buy the 3-point shooting from last year, and again, that he was not a good 3-point shooter for 3 years of his career, and then last year he took off. He was making a lot of threes. If that's real, with his defense and his size, that's a guy that like every team in the league would want for the mid-level. Is it real? Like, do the Knicks have the minutes for him? Again, it's imperfect, but he's a guy that I like.
I like him, man. Wing depth, shot damn near 40 from 3, 6'7". And just like you said, with New Orleans, and I was reading this, forgot from where, New Orleans has never paid the luxury tax in their 20-year existence. So you have Jones, you have Murphy, who they love, Ingram, a lot of people speculating that he could get traded. Even have like a guy like a Dyson Daniels. I mean, they have a lot of guys at that wing spot. So could Marshall be a guy who could fall out of that? It wouldn't be a bad idea, man.
I think there's going to be competition for his. Like, if I was again, we're talking about Detroit. If I was a bad team, now again, is like Naji Marshall going to go in there and into a bad team and like change things? No, he's not that sort of player. But like, I think he's a guy you make a bet on, young-ish player.
I'm intrigued by Derek Jones, man.
Ooh.
Derek Jones. Now, Tyus Jones is one of my mid-level picks. I don't know if he's going to command more. Is the Mitch deal a potential swap there, a sign and trade type of swap? And then I also think, if Brunson's going to be playing northwards of 35 minutes a night, is Tyus Jones really going to come here just for, that backup spot? I don't know. Is that enough minutes for him?
The thing about, and this is the tough part about Jones, is, well, two things. One, he was just a starter, full-time starter, right. 30-minute-a-night guy for the first time of his career. Is he going to want to go someplace where he is, he'll, like, Brunson's going to miss games, and he'll start those games and probably play 45 minutes in those games. Yeah. But, like, he's not going to play with Brunson in any minutes with Brunson in a big spot. It's just too big of a target for a good opposing team. That's where I have trouble.
Derek Jones is the other guy. Filled a nice role for the Mavs. Now you're hearing Jeremy Grant potentially, them being interested in him. I think they do need a bit of an upgrade there. So he's a journeyman who could potentially find another home. Good wing versatility. I think that's very important for me this offseason, especially if you're going to consider bringing OG back at a high number. They need wing depth, whether it's through the draft or somehow free agency, vet minimum, whatever it is. They have to bring more wings in here. Derek Jones is a guy on my target list.
You can't have enough of these guys, which is why, again, I spotlighted Marshall. And, I know the three-point shooting, it couldn't quite make it all the way across the finish line for the Mavs. It kind of petered off there in the finals. But, this is a guy who once upon a time, he wasn't shooting from outside the paint, right, for early in his career.
Yeah.
The fact that he's confidently taking above-the-break threes, in the finals, that means something to me. I think he's a guy. If I'm a team looking to win, I would spend a big portion of my mid-level on him.
Let's go to the phones. Hear what the people have to say, man. 518. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
This is OG Don D from upstate New York.
OG, salute, man. If you're on the speakerphone, please get off the speakerphone.
Hello?
Yes, much
Yes,
better,
we got
sir.
you.
Much better.
Hey, how you doing, CP and J. Jonah Mac?
I love that. That's great.
That's a good
What's up,
one, man.
Okay, well, I'm gonna be quick. I'm just gonna make a statement and
No
then
doubt.
I'm gonna ask a question. The statement is Bernard King is the greatest Knick ever, and Hubie Brown is the greatest Knicks coach ever. Second, I don't think anybody that we've been discussing or what people have been discussing over the last few weeks about who we can potentially get and what trade we could possibly make. And I think the goal is to win a championship, and I don't think any of those players really tipped the scale as much as what we had last year. And I don't know, it lends to me saying again that I think we should run it back. But even in the draft, I think they should look at shooting, because this is a three-point league now, and defense. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
Appreciate the call, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate the call. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think you can look at these moves as the savior move. It may not be there, and the Knicks may not need that. Look, each year they've been adding to their core, bringing more guys who fit Tibbs' mold. The chemistry's gotten better. Brunson has taken his team to another level. Let's see what Randall looks like. Let's see if they run this thing back with Julius and they can get to April healthy. January is not when the final starts. January is not when the playoff starts. January was a good sample, but April is a completely different time when players are coming in at different levels. It's hard. It's hard to get to that point. Let's see what they look like, because you just never know if those two guys are coming together, they're in there healthy, couple of bench upgrades. That might be all they need. We just don't know yet.
I like the savior thing. Like, why do you bring in a franchise savior? Like, there's different ways to look at that. Like, a true savior guy can, like, guarantee you 50 wins a year, right? If you put the right infrastructure around him. But at the end of the day, you want the guy who, in the last 5 minutes of a close game, when it's your best guy versus my best guy, we feel confident in our guy, and we already have that guy. Like, there aren't the amount of guys I would say I would trust over Jalen Brunson in the last 5 minutes of a close game. I could count those guys on one hand. And so then it becomes about, well, how do you keep Jalen Brunson fresh so that he is at his best for those last 5 minutes? And that's where I think all of these conversations become interesting, because it's not, again, it might not be about going to getting the savior. It's just about building the best possible infrastructure, the soundest infrastructure where you can withstand injury, ideally get guys who don't get injured in the first place. And I don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all map. Maybe it is running it back. I wouldn't hate it if they ran it back next year. I don't think that's the craziest idea in the world at all.
At this point, they might not have a choice. So you might have mid-level. You get OG taken care of. You get Hart taken care of. Fortify the bench. Now let's go draft. I mean, it's so hard to predict where they go. They're very unpredictable every year in the draft, right? Could they trade up? Could they trade back? What do you think they do with these 3 picks?
I don't think they make all of them.
Right. That's what. Let's start there.
Yeah. No. I don't know what it's going to be. It's tough because the fundamental issue is people are speculating like the Knicks are trying to trade out of one of these picks. Okay, great. You're not getting a future first for the 24th or 25th pick in this draft. You're just not. No team is going to give you a future first for one of these picks in this draft, which means you have to do something more creative. Again, we could go through 100 scenarios.
Yeah.
Check out, the Knicks Film School pod that dropped today, in which Jeremy literally went through all of the possible scenarios. I think they will end up with a player. Like, again, Ian has predicted that they will get a guy, at least one guy with one of these picks, who will help them potentially this year. So, shooting, like you said, got to bring in a shooter. Yeah. Although, there's also this Ryan Dunn smoke,
right?
Who is a guy who is absolutely not a shooter, but he might be the best probably is the best defender in the draft. Like, do you take a project like that and just leave him in Westchester for a year or two? I don't know. I tend to like my guy that I'm kind of on, and I haven't like watched a ton of tape on him, but Tyler Kolek out of Marquette.
Marquette.
Yeah, I like. He seems like he's a guy, graduating senior, come in and give you minutes if you need next year. Feisty backup point guard type would fit in. Like, you got to get someone who fits in with the culture, like what they're trying to do, and makes sense on the court. So I don't know. He's just a guy I have my eye on.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, look, if they feel like they can get done to respectable shooting percentages, hey, take a swing on them. It would be ideal if they can get somebody who's plug and play ready. You get some rookie value out of that contract, especially the way that you have to navigate the CBA. That's ideal. So let's see what they come away with, man.
Do you want to draft a center?
I wouldn't mind it. I definitely wouldn't mind it. Getting another guy in here. I'm not sure about Sims. He's another guy I like. He's working, but
you like him, right? He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's
like
nice
a super guy.
But I don't know, man. The simulation just hasn't been getting it done. It doesn't look too promising, but it's early. But yeah, we could definitely use some center depth, definitely wing depth, and if they feel like Kolek is a guy who can come in and contribute right away, hey, take a flyer on him. All right, let's go a couple more on the phones. 646. What's your name? Where you calling in from?
It's Ty, standing on the desk talking Knicks, baby.
Ty Clemens. He's at work, man. First show he called, he said he was under the desk. He was whispering, man. He had his library voice on, but he still got his point across. Ty, let's go, man.
Listen, man, you called it. We need to get you in the Knicks organization. We need to go hard after Murray and then find a backup for OG to limit his minutes, and then we're going to do it. That's what I feel that we need to do to get it right. And I feel that Leon, like I said, I believe him. He's our savior. He's going to do what he needs to do to get it done.
Let's go, man. Appreciate the call, Ty.
Every time.
It's Ty Clemens checking in from work, man. 862, what's your name? Where you calling in from? 862.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yep, what's going on, bro? My name's Matt. I'm from North Jersey. What's going on? How we doing?
What's up, man? Good, man. How you
Listen,
feeling?
man, I just wanted to bring up how everyone keeps talking about trading Mitch, man, and Mitch, he's been here for a minute. I understand he's not always healthy, and, he's not always on the court when you need him to be, but the thing is, like, the return that we can get from this guy in the market, is that really something that you can outweigh when it comes to playoff time? This guy locked up a former MVP. He'll give you 48 minutes of that. And if we have Hart on the starting lineup, you know what I mean? Like, he's not going to get as much exposure in the paint, get hurt as much. I really think we should look into keeping Mitch, and maybe try developing a nice rookie to come off the bench.
Okay. All right.
It's fair.
It's a fair point. Guy wants to keep the block. That's monster, man. Mitch just bought a house in Nashville. He's out in Nashville this weekend. I had fans.
I saw that.
Yeah, Mitch was out there with the people, bought a new house in Nashville. So
and Nashville's wonderful. I have my wife's family.
Yeah.
A bunch of them live over in Nashville, in like Franklin, Nashville area. Great spot.
Yeah,
I wouldn't blame anybody for buying a house.
It's developing quite nicely. I've been there once a couple years ago on a business trip. It's developing nicely, man. 917-304. What's your name? Where you calling in from? 917.
Gentlemen.
There he is.
Number one,
Hello.
thank you for
Let's go.
Thank you for taking my call. Okay, you already know Rapid Fire King.
Let's go.
Tom from Huntington, CP, the connector, the originator, Macri, the true fan. Okay, the true fan. Just want to say this. I'm picking up Bogdanovic's option only if he gets a haircut. His only value as an asset is his contract. That's number one.
Are you saying he's got to get rid of the bird's nest? Are you saying he's got to get rid of the bird's nest?
He's got to. Yeah. You know what? When you only have 30 cents in the bank account, you close the account. There's nothing left. Let it go, buddy. It's okay. It's okay. I'm follically challenged myself. God bless America. All I got to say is let it go. That's number one. And get him out of here, please. Great guy. Thank you. High five. Thank you. PG, forget about that. I like the Dejounte Murray thing. We need I want to go younger, man. Let's stop with this over 30 thing. I get it if they can give you an immediate impact like Drew Holiday did for the Celtics. That's great. But you know what? At where we are, we have that nice mix let's get some young guys in there too, maybe through the draft. I love Dunn was it Ryan Dunn? Love to get him in here, but let's get both. Let's get like a promising player that can play now, like maybe an older player from college, like that guy, that good shooter, Baylor. I forgot his last name. Get a guy that can shoot well, and then get a project that you can put on the bench. Because I don't want these. I don't want Charlie Brown, Charlie Murphy. I don't want any of these guys on the bench and all like that. We need to get stronger. We need to. And I love Charlie Murphy. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
We need to get stronger on the bench. That's basically where I'm coming from. Let's go, Knicks. It's going to be a big week. Can't wait to see more of your shows, both of you. Have a wonderful day, and let's go, Manscaped. No testimonial.
Let's
Thank
go.
you.
Tom from Huntington, man. 5-star call. Shout out my guy, Tom, man. Always repping, man.
CP, you like Murray, right?
Yeah.
You're not worried about him?
Don't love him. I don't love him, but I think at this stage in the game, I got to see what the cost is. I got to see if Landry's willing to give us a little bit of a deal now.
I just worry about the fit in the starting five.
Yeah.
I love I irrationally so, full admit.
Yeah.
I love DiVincenzo's fit in the starting five, and taking that out and replacing it with a guy who, wants the rock a little bit more and isn't quite the threat from deep. It's the only thing with Murray that if he was willing to come off the bench and like go for a 6 Man of the Year award,
yeah,
promise him 30 minutes a game, whatever, like I'd be all for it. I don't know.
That's where Worldwide West has to come into play here. He's got to sit down with Rich. I need Rich,
sit down,
West, and Dejounte in the room. Right? The best Italian spot we got here in the city, man. What's the best spot in the city right now? Best Italian spot.
Oh, is it still like Rouse?
Arturo's?
Arturo's is
West
good.
Village?
Carbone is.
All right, so we take him to Carbone, right? That's where all the young kids. That's where the in crowd's at these days. They take him to Carbone.
They wouldn't let me in there. That's for sure.
Sit him down and say, "Listen, we need you to sacrifice. It didn't work with Trey. He's a bum. Don't worry about them. It hasn't worked out in San Antonio. You sacrifice. Deuce and Dejounte off the bench. Let's go for it, man."
I'm picturing the scene in The Godfather. Take him to that restaurant and then go get the gun strapped in the old style toilet.
That's the only thing. Why I'm like, probably not likely, but never know. Never know. If he's willing to sacrifice him and Tibbs, him and Deuce off the bench.
He's a hell of a player. Like the dude. Again, talking about a guy who gets buckets. Like he gets buckets.
I'd like to see them take that chance, but we'll see what happens there. Okay, I want to get to, this worst take segment has really been taken off, man. This is where we react to the sound bites around the NBA podcast sphere. And so for today's edition of Worst Take, I'm gonna start with Kevin Garnett. Him and Paul Pierce were on the KG Certified podcast. And they had a couple things to say about the Knicks. So let's hear what KG has to say, and let's react to it here. Here we go. All right, here's KG.
Man, next year, the fucking Knicks and Celtics.
Family show, KG.
Bro, we got to pull up to that. We're going to have to pull up to that. I need to see that in real, because that is, to me, the Knicks are built to challenge this Celtic team. When you go back,
I think they need one more piece.
No, hear me out, bro. You see, this is what you're not thinking about. You got a fucking point guard who's a closer. He's activated. You're not gonna douse none of his. Lord know how to score on a 6'5", 6'7". Real talk, your small forward, he can score on. Then you got an animal who's been in the cage. Motherfucker, shake it off.
Right.
Man, I'm putting money on Randall this year. Robinson, he is one of the old heads who just wants to do his job. I want a rebound and offensive rebound. Throw me a lob every now and then. I'm the new Tyson Chandler. You gotta have, niggas ain't even talking about Bogi over here. Niggas don't even know they got Bogi. They don't even know they got Bogdanović over there.
Bogdanović.
Right. The catching, and if you ain't there, say, yeah, in your head. Yes, I must break you. Yes, Bogi. Yeah. You know me.
I feel like DiVincenzo turned into him.
Man, 3 Da Vinci, don't even get Hart. They all been activated. The white kid who didn't even start, came off and gave him great minutes. What's my man name in the middle? What's his name?
Isaiah Hartenstein.
Hartenstein, dog.
That's the big man?
Man, yeah, the left-hand white kid.
He's about to get paid this year.
Man, he should. All them niggas stepped up, man. McBride, all them niggas, man, listen, Knicks, they can stay healthy, Pete. That's going to be the asterisk. That if they can stay healthy, this is, to me, Philly and the New York Knicks, to me, are going to be the two teams that I think they give the Celtics a chance. Or
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
All right, man. What do you think? KG says it's the Knicks. Give the Celtics the biggest run for their money next year, man. Your thoughts?
I agree with him that the Knicks, if you look at the East, are probably the team that is best constructed to give the Celtics a run for their money. I say probably because everybody has that team that they can't quit. I can't fully quit the Bucks. I know they were a disaster this year, but just like, and they need to figure out their depth, and maybe there's rumblings that they may rejigger some important pieces on their roster, but like, I'm not willing to write them off quite yet. Tough year for Dame personally, so maybe he puts that behind him. But no, I don't think it's a crazy take. I guess I hate that I have to be the one to do this, but the pushback that I would have as far as like, again, the Celtics are just constructed that any weak spot you have, they're going to be able to exploit it. That's how they're built. It doesn't matter what your weak spot is. They could exploit that weak spot. And the Knicks will present presuming they run it back, right? It's like, okay, well, you got two prominent players in Brunson and Randall who are kind of defensive liabilities for different reasons. You have a traditional five that you're playing at all times. So how does that jive with trying to guard KP or whatever you do with him? And then, on the other end, it's like you got just all of these guys that they put on the floor that can take whoever off the dribble and create a one-on-one advantageous matchup. It's tough, but I agree that I think all things considered, they're still the best rival for Boston.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they can be that number 2 seed there. We'll see what Philly does. If they get Paul George and you have an Embiid that can play for a good 3/4 of the season, obviously you have to put some respect on their name. I'm not ready to count out the Bucks just yet. I'm with you. Just give them another year, see what that looks like with a healthier Middleton. Dame in a better situation. Seemed like there was a lot of off-court stuff that was distracting him there. Well, Giannis, Doc. Well, let's see what happens there. Miami, I'm not really worried about. I think you probably have to put some respect on the Pacers' name. Could they be in that 5th spot? So I think 2 is doable for the Knicks. It's Julius for me, man. Yeah. Is he going to be there when they need him? Brunson alone and his band of merry men and a good depth is not going to be enough to beat Boston. As you stated, 1 through 5, all at varying degrees of skill level. They can put the ball on the floor. They can create for each other. They play smart. That's the type of team that you're going to need to go up to put up against Boston. You've got to be able to work. You've got to be able to think and make good decisions against that team. And
is it a coincidence you just threw in you got to be able to think and make good decisions right after you talked about it comes down to Julius?
No.
Not a coincidence.
No coincidence at all.
If you told me that we were going to get the best version, I'm not even talking about the 100th percentile version of Julius.
Yeah.
The 88th percentile version of Julius Randle in a series against the Celtics next year, I would, with all my chest, predict Knicks are going to take that series. If I knew that we were going to get the A version, maybe between the A and the A- version for 7 games, because that guy, there is no, you have to put 2 on the ball. It doesn't matter if you're the best defense in the league, which I think Boston is arguably. You have to he bends everything because he's that good. He's that dangerous. Are we getting that player?
If we could, it'd be fantastic because then you got DiVincenzo out there, you've got OG out there on the wings. It's a completely different story.
He's getting Brunson spot up opportunities. That version of Julius Randle.
Getting that back. Can we get Jalen Brunson easier opportunities and just having to, dribble his way into
lighten the workload
defense, lighten the workload. No question about it. What do you guys think in the chat, man? Leave some comments in the chat. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Okay, one more on the worst take scene. And this wasn't really a take. It was more of a prediction, but a lot of people around the Knicks Twitter sphere are responding to it. So let's talk about it. This is from the Craig Carton Show. And Craig Carton has a particular player who he sees as the perfect spot or a spot of interest when it comes to the Knicks. Here we go.
I know the Knicks. I know who the Knicks have had conversations about.
Somebody.
Tell us. I'm going to tell you. There is a player that I don't think they can get, but I know who's number one on the Knicks dream list. I know this, and it's a fact. It's 100%. Just trust me on it. I've said it on the show before. The New York Knicks, if they could make it happen and figure it out, would like to add Anthony Davis to the roster. That's the guy that they want more than any other player in the league.
What do you think about that?
So you sent me this clip.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who he was going to say because I don't pay attention to this stuff very much.
Yeah.
I don't think it's crazy. I really don't think it's crazy because, again, for the umpteenth time, maybe this will be the last time I have to do this, but if you're talking about beating Boston, right? What is the one archetype of a player you maybe want, putting aside like elite shot creator with size? What's the one archetype that you want? You want the uber switchable, versatile, defensive big man who you cannot play off the floor, you cannot put into compromising situations, whether you have a stretch five or not. And can also like protect the rim. Like he could do everything. Like Anthony Davis, I don't think we need to argue this. Like when he's healthy and when he's going, he's top 3 defender in the sport. Like full stop. I had him top 3 on my defense player of the year ballot this year. And it's at a position where like we've just extolled the virtues of Isaiah Hartenstein and like Mitchell Robinson. I love Isaiah Hartenstein. He's not Anthony Davis, on either end of the floor. And it's like just an obvious position of upgrade if, here's the big if, you can keep your other main pieces. But as it always comes back to, it's like, and we don't have to get into this because it's just like pie in the sky thing. Yeah. But like, what are you giving up to get him? Like you have to build $40 million in salary, essentially, because if you want to, basically do dollar for dollar, that's tough. $40 million is a lot of money. Are you giving up Julius in that deal? Like I don't know. So need more information, but like from a theoretical perspective, like I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah. I don't think it's crazy by any stretch. Certainly the player of his caliber, of his profile, like you said, going up against the Celtics, having that type of versatility, because that's certainly what Boston has. The more versatile you can be, I think the better off the Knicks are. And then offensively, I think he'd be perfect playing off of Jalen Brunson as well.
Oh.
Question.
Saw that in the 2020. I mean, look, Jalen Brunson's not LeBron James. I get it. But like, we've seen him be the finisher, the number 2 guy who all he has to do is finish. Like he didn't have to create a ton on that 2020 Lakers team. He can do a little bit of that, but like I don't think the Knicks would need him to.
No, I don't think so. Question is, how long does this LeBron, AD, JJ Redick experiment last? You heard reports earlier this week or last week that he's on the outs with Redick because Redick didn't put him on the NBA All-Defense team. I can't believe that to be true. Anything's possible. I just can't believe that to be true. So the question is, how long does this whole thing, and it all revolves around LeBron and Bronny and all that, how long does that whole thing last? And at what point does AD look to sever that tie, if at all? Because, he's so deep within clutch with LeBron and Rich Paul. Would he even entertain something like that?
I mean, I'd love to know. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall at the alleged...
The peace treaty.
If like... What would you pay for a transcript of that meeting?
Facts. I need someone who was there to put that out there, man. Maybe Draymond leaks it, one day. Who knows? Maybe he leaks it one day.
Who was in the room? That's what I want to know. Just give me the list of who was in the room. That's all I want to know.
Yeah. We'll check with our guy, Robert Randolph. Maybe he was there, man. Maybe
he was probably there. He was actually he was in charge of the meeting.
That's it.
The minds together.
Yeah. Craig Carton says, trust me on this one. I think he went to the Robert Randolph School of Sources, man. So there that is, man. But either way, man, great show. Oh, actually, no. We got one more call. One more call. Let me get to
it.
Who's this on the Discord? Carlo, checking in from the Philippines. Carlo, let's go. Carlo.
Hey, kamusta kayo, CP and John?
How you doing, man?
What's up? It's 1:30 a.m. here right now.
Yeah,
and
late
I have
night.
to lower my voice for a bit since my wife and son are sleeping in the other room.
Okay.
Just a rapid fire comment. I think I already mentioned this take on your Facebook page. It might be a worse take as well, and I know you guys are sick of hearing Mikal Bridges, and the Nets won't send him to the Knicks directly. But let me insinuate him again in this trade discussion. My suggestion is we make a three-way trade with the Raptors. Raptors trade picks and whoever they want for Bridges. Then we let it simmer. They let it simmer for a while. Then the Knicks trade Bodega, non-core players, and picks to the Raptors, just like what the Bucks and the Blazers did for Dame and Drew Holiday. Now, you would ask why would the Raptors do that? They owe us from that data breach incident from last year. And if I were the Knicks, if they pull that off, I will disregard that lawsuit and bury the hatchet. So tell me what you think of my suggestion, and thank you for accepting my call. Rapid fire.
Man. Carlo checking in from the Philippines. What do you think, man?
I mean, I'm not breaking any news here. I like Mikal Bridges a lot. He's a really good basketball player. I don't know if based on how the Nets have talked about, like, it's not quite apples to apples. Like the Bucks had to give up Drew Holiday to get, otherwise there was no way functionally for them to get Dame. And they tried, from everything you see reported, tried mightily to turn it into a 3-team deal, so to avoid the very thing that unfolded, which is him eventually going to their rival. The Nets have no such imperative to trade Mikal Bridges. So I have to think if there is a team out there, whether it's the Raptors or anybody else, who gave up what it seems like it would cost to get Mikal from Brooklyn, and I don't even know what that would... RJ's probably in that deal, right?
I would have to think so.
If for no other reason than for salary purposes, and like to get a something of significance back. Well, whatever. It's neither here nor there. But like whatever a team's going to give up, they're going to give up a lot of stuff. I don't think they're just going to then turn around and flip Mikal to the Knicks for whatever the Knicks would have.
The fans are hoping, man. They're hoping for a miracle. I just don't see it ever happening, to be completely honest. Anything's possible. I just don't see it, man.
What? I'm going to ask you one what would surprise you more, Mikal Bridges is on the Knicks or Anthony Davis is on the Knicks?
Mikal Bridges.
Really? You said that without hesitation?
Yeah.
Wow.
They haven't traded with each other since the 80s. I mean, Sean Marks and Joe Tsai can pretty much... They might as well just go back to New Jersey because the level of irrelevance that team has been through or that team is currently under. This is a one-team town. It's a one-team town, man.
Well, but yes, obviously.
I can't see it. I'd be much more surprised to see Mikal Bridges on the Knicks than Anthony Davis within the next, year or two. Harrison Dolan, go ahead and close this out, man.
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. How you feeling,
bro? Hey, I'm feeling good. Just on my lunch break. What's up, Jonathan? What's up, CP? Good to hear from you guys.
Nice, man. Likewise.
What's up? Yeah, I'm going to keep it rapid fire. I hear all these Mitch Rob rumors, and I don't like it. I don't like replacing him with Goga Bitadze. I just don't think he's good. And, Orlando just played against Cleveland in a 7-game series, and Bitadze played 10 minutes in all 7 games.
Sure.
I'm not convinced he's a Tibbs guy. And it's Cleveland. It's the team that Mitchell Robinson almost single-handedly decimated in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should just trade Mitch Rob just to trade him. I understand you'd be putting $30 million into your center core, but with the salary cap going up and with Brunson possibly even giving us a discount, I don't see why we should just trade Mitch just to trade him. Because I think that 1-2 punch of Hart and Mitch Rob is an X factor in the playoffs for sure.
Fair points, man. Appreciate the call. And, I don't think they're looking to trade him for trading him's sake, but it's about having options. It's about having scenarios, especially in this offseason where anything could go down. You can't predict it.
They're not going to trade him just to trade him. They're not going to trade him purely for financial reasons. It'll be because they think they are making their basketball team better when it's whatever between that move and whatever other moves coincide with it. But ultimately it comes, and I think this is what the caller was getting at. It's a good point. The Knicks need to decide, is Mitchell Robinson maybe not a necessity, but is he a luxury or is he vital to their core? And I think there are decent arguments for both sides, but I certainly sympathize with anybody who is taking that caller side on Mitch.
Well said, man. Great show. Shout out to everybody who tapped in, man. I thought we really dissected this thing and got down to it, covered all the bases. What do you guys think, man? Paul George, Mitchell Robinson, NBA draft. There's a lot going on this week. It's going to be a busy week, but make no mistake, man, we got you covered, man. Knicks Film School, KnicksFanTV, we will have you covered for the entire NBA offseason, so make sure you guys are tapping in. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channels. Macri, probably next time we link up will be in Vegas. We're still trying to figure out the Summer League move. It's looking like potentially July 14th will be the Knicks fan meetup. So for fans looking to meet us out there in Vegas, Summer League is a great opportunity, man, to come through and check out some hoops. A lot of the young NBA players will be out there. Obviously, you'll have the whole Bronny James will be the highlight there as well. We'll see who the Knicks pick and if they play, but definitely try to meet us out there in Las Vegas. It's going to be a great opportunity. And stay tuned for more details on the meetup for sure, man. So let me get back to a couple more super chats and then we'll wrap up. Della Music 50 $5 super chat says, sorry, no more bags for you out the door via my Knicks. The train is done, left the station. Bye-bye, Paul George. We have a nice life elsewhere. So he's out on the Paul George rumors. And shout out to K Marco says, I wish the NBA had unlimited cap like the MLB because I don't want to lose any of our guys. You need to do more shows together. Love y'all both, man. K Marco, salute. And hey, if there's no salary cap, Knicks would be the Yankees, man. But that's just, the decks that we're playing with here. And it is what it is, man. Got to deal with those cards. Macri, what do you got on deck for this week, man? Let the people know what's going on.
What do we got on deck? Usual array of pods. I think we got the great Fred Katz. I'm pretty sure we're recording with him later today. We're doing a big live show on draft night. Chris Persianen, shout out to him. He's been heading up our draft coverage for a while, so check out that. And then, like you do, anytime news breaks, we'll be there, live on the Knicks Film School YouTube channel. I guess the last thing, if you're around the Garden on draft night, Wednesday night, I'll be in the lounge at Pen 6. Great spot. Be some giveaways, I believe. Former Knick Gerald Wilkins will be there.
Oh, yeah.
Signing autographs and doing some pictures and things. So, shout out to Pen 6 for hosting that on Wednesday. But, man, I'm just excited for whatever we got in store. My fearless prediction is that a week from right now, we will have something to talk about.
There we go. As we always do, man. Well, once this thing, finalizes or gets to a cruising altitude, whether it's Vegas or back here, man, let's get back up and we'll react to everything. For everybody at home, thanks again for tuning in. Remember that this show is available in audio podcast format. No reason to miss it. If you did, shout out to the Replay Gang. Salute to you guys for always holding us down. And remember to support our sponsors, man. Manscaped.com. Use our code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. Go ahead and check out a number of Manscaped's great products, man. And they ship to a number of locations, so no need to miss out. But as Tom from Huntington said, no testimonials. Just go out there and get it, man. No testimonials, man. So anyway, great show, everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow for our mock draft as we get ready for the NBA draft this week, man. Have a great day. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.